So when it comes to creative industries, what is your quote Roman Empire? Do you know what that is? Have you seen? I guess this depends on how online you are. Have you seen this?
I don't
Oh,
think
okay. So when something's your Roman Empire, it's like this is my Roman Empire. It's like something you think about constantly or you talk about constantly. So like maybe you can't believe Nike did such and such with their branding, or you're really excited to see how Chat GPT changes this, that, or the third, or like, whatever it is. It's just something like
I,
that's something you think about a lot within the creative industries. That like specific thing that's your Roman Empire.
I mean, for me, it probably it just goes back to like teamwork, which
Yeah.
sounds cheesy, but I've
No.
worked for a lot of different agencies, and worked on a lot of different brands, and some are really glamorous, and you're doing this really, high profile work, and sometimes it's really not. But like at the end of the day, I can only do what I do when I'm working with awesome, creative, good humans. And I've definitely worked on projects or worked at agencies where everyone's kind of like, you just know everyone's out to get ahead for themselves. Um,
Mm,
and I feel like that's sort of the bad side of the agency world. And so I've kind of just made it my mission to surround myself with awesome teams. And so yeah, I think that's my Roman Empire. It's like, are we all treating each other well while we're creating this awesome work?
yeah. I think that totally makes sense. I mean, it's like I feel like it's kind of like the source. It's just like if like the source isn't there, it's just whatever comes out. It might come out great, might not. Yeah. And so it sounds like you were talking about like people treating each other well is like a part of that. But like what other characteristics in addition do you think help make a great team?
I think it's about open communication. It's about, I think one of the things that I always try to do is like everyone works differently. And so I like to figure out how everyone works most effectively, because it's not one size fits all, right? And so it's like for me, again, being a producer, I feel like you're sort of like, you should be creating the environment that allows everyone to do their best work.
Mm,
So it's like getting to know some people just do not do well in morning meetings. Some people need like like a daily update on here's what we need to accomplish today. Some
mm.
people are like, just don't even talk to me. I'll tell you when I have a blocker. So it's just like understanding how people work and what makes them tick, and then kind of being that glue that holds a team together.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
yeah, I think with the Roman Empire thing, I don't know. I guess it's tough to imagine the perfect scenario or something like that. But I think the thing I'm always thinking about is I'm more of like in the branding, positioning kind of world, and always like looking at like how new companies are being branded and positioned and the trends and all that stuff. And that's definitely
Mm,
like what I'm always thinking about looking at the blog, like brand new, the blog, and like and the discussions on that. But I do feel like when I think of the Roman Empire idea, I do think of kind of what Amy was talking about, which is like coming from agency and studios background, there's not a lot of communities that are in physical space that are discussing branding and doing it like there used to be previously when a lot of different smaller agencies, I think. And so now that's my new Roman Empire is trying to find more physical community spaces in New York here
mm.
where AIGA is starting to do more events again. And there's like
What's
co-working
AIJ?
AIGA, which is now
AIGA, sorry.
myself, which is I don't know if like any of the young designers that are coming up now would look at it the same or what, but when I was graduating yesteryear, but it was AIJ, American Institute of Graphic Arts. They were like they would have all the design events, and it felt like everyone worked at an agency and would go to an AIGA event and things like that. And now it's a much different world where everyone's coming from all sorts of different experiences, people freelancing, independent contractors, people working in house a lot more with companies and building their brands out that way. So it's just I don't know. I feel like I don't know if that answers the question, but I'm trying to explore more here in New York and build more like connections that are interested in that, like small user groups and meetups and things like that. And trying to replace the void that I feel like maybe exists still. I don't know if I'm just not finding the events, but it felt like there used to be a lot more kind of physical meetups around design, things like that. So
Yeah.
that's like a Roman Empire, I guess we'll see, is like building more of a community in New York with designers and branding and stuff like that. More like because there's a lot of tech startup stuff, but not as much like let's just meet and discuss art, design, things that make us tick, things that inspire us. Let's go deep dive into type or things like that. Like a lot of those style of talks and meetups, I feel like are rare and nowadays.
I think that that's a great focus to have. I feel like for the most part, people come from like a schooling and education background where it's like everyone went to the same place every day. And so it was like having like community was more effortless. And so I do
Yeah,
feel like as an adult and as a professional, you really have to like make an effort to be curious and explore and like seek groups and people out and like see what it's like and see if it's a place you want to be. And so I think that that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
For me, I think, I mean, yeah, I'm really kind of curious and fascinated by AI, and
Mm.
like how we're going to use it moving forward, both how brands are going to use it, I'm really interested in, but also how people are going to use it, like how it's like there's so much potential for soulfulness with it, and I think like there's
Mm.
obviously all of the cheap fast things that happen with AI that are probably the things that everyone thinks about kind of first and foremost, but there's like with like OpenAI, deep minds who like come and like tools or like Hugging Face and Stable Diffusion and what's there's a new one like kind of the new version of Runway, which is like animate diff using ControlNet with like latent upscaling and stuff. And all of these kind of things are basically gonna get to the point where you are gonna be able to make a movie from home. And it's just such a crazy idea. And I just think that there's so much potential for creativity with these tools once we kind of gel with them and understand how they can help us rather than how they can give us ideas or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like once you get
Mm.
past ChatGPT doing your homework for you and stuff, it's like how can you actually use these in a really kind of meaningful way that is kind of like going to be the future jobs, you know, like in the next like 10-20 years, that kind of thing. So it's fascinating, and I think it's also fascinating from how brands are using AI as well, and they're very much just at the start of this, you know, like I mean you've got people like companies like Tesla and stuff, or Mercedes, whatever, obviously, you know, kind of like using it in a really kind of meaningful and tangible way that we can understand. But just how it affects all companies and stuff going forward, I think is really interesting challenge for us creatively, you know.
Yeah, I feel like it totally makes sense that that's your empire. I feel like that's on a lot of people's minds right now. I think there's so much potential for generative AI to be used in a really inhumane and kind of careless way. And I feel like as things are right now, it's very easy to do that. And so I think it's going to involve a lot of work of like people being like, if this goes well, this is, you know, what Dave always says, like, how will this go if this goes well? How can this go if this goes well? People using it while still like considering, you know, their fellow creatives and their fellow people in mind. Um, and also how can this be incorporated into my workflow in a way that's like, this is helping me, but it's not doing everything, but it's not, you know, destroying the economy around me either.
Yeah,
It's so yeah, it's a very big and multifaceted. So yeah, that totally makes sense. Thank
thank
you all so much for sharing that. I like hearing what people are like thinking about all the time. Okay, so kind of back to Laetro and focusing on Laetro a little more. Whether it's the kind of clients you can work for, or like the way you get paid, or having projects brought to you, or maybe it's something else. What is your favorite thing about working on projects with Laetro as, you know, opposed to any other company?
I think for me, it's really the variety. It's really, you know, the ability to work on so many different types of projects, working with so many different teams. different types of clients. You know, in the last 6-7 months, I've done just about every type of, you know, digital marketing project you can imagine. And it just keeps it interesting and fun. And just, you know, it keeps me feeling like I'm, you know, getting to flex different skills and not getting into a rut. So that's just been awesome.
Very cool.
For me, it's definitely the people. Every team feels like MVPs where, you know, you're people that are coming from, like Mike was saying, you know, excellent illustrators and people that work in the film industry and things like that. And everyone kind of like coming in with their own expertise on one, like, and it always feels like, you know, this assembled like dream team on every project or something like that that I've been on, because they're, you know, I'm learning from everyone that I've been working with. And it always does feel like every new project, it's I'm getting to meet exciting new talented people and learning new things just in the processes. So that's definitely it. It's the people and the that's my favorite part, I think, is just the variety of like waking up and logging in and being talking to people from all over the world and industries and things like that. And it's really neat.
Right on.
Yeah. Just so to kind of reiterate exactly what you both have said and kind of what I've said previously, but yeah, it's really, to me, the diversity of projects and the diversity of people. So many cool different projects all happening at the same time, loads of different talent that you're working with all the time. And it's kind of like, you know, because you're working from home, you're working remotely, right? So it's saving you the hour that you would take to get to work and the hour you would take to get back, and you're just able to think and stuff. And you know, I feel like it's, for that reason, it's truly a modern business. And you know, like, I don't thank COVID for many things, but like I do think that, like, you know, COVID did help the world to understand that you can work remotely and effectively, you know, and that it
Yeah.
can be a really smart model, you know. And I think that that helped to show, like, you know, like, kind of, I was at a company where we were in the office, and then everybody, you know, everybody had to leave and kind of work remotely, and
Yeah.
that was a real experiment. And the bosses of the company didn't know how it was going to pan out, and it was extremely effective. And once where everyone started going back into offices, they stayed as a remote business because they were like, this is just working fine, you know. Like, so
Yeah.
it's been really, really interesting. But I feel like Laetro in that whole journey just came just at the right time, you know, because it's it's just such a good model, and being able to work from anywhere as well, guys. That's a great, you know, sometimes I'll pop back to London to visit my family, and I can still kind of carry on my projects and stuff. So that's incredibly, like, valuable as well.
Wonderful. Yeah. I like all of that. Thank you all for sharing. We've focused for the most part on projects, but something as the resident community keeper at Laetro I'm kind of interested about is, what do you want from a creative community, whether it be online or in person? Like, what more are you looking for? What would you like from Laetro?
I think some sort of meetup would be awesome at some point. Like, I know that we all operate completely fine as we do and professionally, and this whole thing works perfectly, but I would love the opportunity to, like, meet up with some of the team at some point. And you know, like, maybe attend an event together or something, you know, like, kind of, if, I don't know, like, you know, not necessarily this, but like your South by Southwest type thing, if that's where we were all kind of connecting and stuff and kind of able to meet together, but then have a great time at the same time, I just think that
Mhm.
would be an awesome thing to, you know, I think it works great as a remote company. Like, I'm surprised by, like, I think you do a great job, by the way, Bianca, like, and you know, like, the input into Slack and kind of just making everybody feel like kind of like a team and connected and stuff, I think is great. But yeah, these would just be like maybe a once a year thing or something like that where people get together, I think would be awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, I think that my mind immediately went to, like, maybe we should have another channel where people are just like, if they're traveling or something, they can say where they travel to, or like, I don't know. I think sometimes it's kind of surprising to realize, like, oh, like, this person lives an hour away from me. It's like you don't know otherwise. And so yeah, something like that. I will be thinking on it. But yeah, more in person.
What about
I love that
project?
suggestion because I know, you know, again, I echo a lot of what Michael said about the remote work. It really works and it's great and it's efficient. But there is something about meeting a live human in person, especially when you've been collaborating on a screen together for months, and all of a sudden it's a great experience. So I love those suggestions.
Yeah, actually, Cliff, Cliff Rediker, who's one of the project leads, he happened to be passing Montreal, and he's like, "Yo, I'm going to be passing," so we caught up and had coffee and stuff. It was really cool. Like,
Oh, that's really cool.
we're sort of doing it independently, but it would be great to do it kind of as a team as well.
That's so good to hear. I'm happy because I definitely want to make sure there's more like bigger events that we can like talk about and like promote as a company. But it is also nice, and we definitely encourage people. Like if you're friends with someone and you're DMing with them or you've worked with them or whatever, please feel free to be like, hey, I'm in wherever. Like, let's hang out. So yeah.
That is a cool idea. I never even thought about that with like regionality too, Michael, with like maybe there's a bunch of Laetro people near me in New York and I just never, knew because we're never often like sharing that. Maybe some way of seeing like, hey, you have 5 people near you or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I
Engage.
sometimes
I'm
oh,
always
sorry,
in New York, so I'd have no. Sorry, I was just saying, Gage. I'm like always trying to go to New York. So knowing you're there already gives me like, okay, cool.
yeah. Next time we're gonna meet up, get a coffee, and we'll do it.
We're only an hour flight from each other, like Montreal's just an hour from New York. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
Michael, now that you've been talking about all the Google Maps platform work, I'm
There you
thinking
go.
we need a map. We need a
Yeah.
map.
Okay, map.
Oh my
Very
God.
cool. I think that that's probably something that could be done. Is people
Yeah.
just like
Like,
almost pretty easily.
especially as like guys have already been kind of made into like icons already and stuff. So you could just
Yeah.
have these kind of icons around the map and stuff. That would be so cool.
That would be neat to just visualize
Cool.
it. Yeah.
What a great
Awesome.
brainstorm.
I was like, these are great ideas. We need to incorporate this pronto.
I
Okay.
really love that, Amy. That's great.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, well, Amy, Gage, and Michael, thank you so much for joining me. This conversation was really wonderful. And for everyone watching, thank you for making the roundtable at Laetro part of your day, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Thanks, see everybody.
Thanks, Bianca.